Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. This is the Political Spotlight. I'm your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey. Welcome. This is a very special bonus episode. We're here on a Friday night. We're not supposed to be here on a Friday night. So obviously that means we have something important to talk to you all about. For those of you that are just joining, welcome. If you're watching, I don't really know how most of you are. I know most of you are watching on YouTube. Welcome. Thank you for being here on YouTube. For those of you that are not on YouTube, I'm not really sure what you're watching us on, whether it be Facebook or Twitter or Rumble. Thank you. I would ask that a good majority of you that are not, if you're not on YouTube, try at some point in your life to work your way over to YouTube. That is going to be your best viewing way to view and way to interact because of the comments. The majority of our viewers are on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, you're like in a world of your own, or on Twitter, you're in a world of your own. But if you're on YouTube, you can interact with the majority of our live audience. However, if that doesn't mean anything to you, then stay where you are. Thank you for watching. It doesn't really matter. If you are on YouTube, please do us a favor. Click the like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. That always helps us. Most importantly, share the show with everyone you know, and comment with us. If you're watching live, we like to interact with you live. If you're watching this on repeat, please comment in the comment section below, and we will get back to you. We live in the comment section, so that will be fantastic. The YouTube, for those of you that don't YouTube, is youtube.com/@thepoliticalspotlight, all one word. It's there on the screen below, right? Kate's put it on there. It's on the red screen. It's everywhere. You can find us, or if you just go to YouTube and type in The Political Spotlight, we'll pull up. So, all right, folks, we have a big show planned for you. It's a Friday night, so it better be big. Here's the thumbnail. The thumbnail is, look at this nice house that I've constructed here. I put all this together in Canva. It wasn't like a room. I built this room. I'm very impressed with myself. The name of this episode is Floor, Not the Ceiling, and we'll talk about that. That's a phrase I say quite frequently, specifically when dealing with elected officials, specifically dealing with the elected officials that like to give us the bare minimum. So that's big. As you see here, it's kind of hard to see. It says W line, that's with, for all of you out there that didn't know that. With contributing correspondent, we've actually moved her up into the Audie category. She's no longer just special guest, Katherine Callahan. We'll call her now a contributing correspondent, along with Audie. They're also battling to see which one of them calls me more time a day. I think Audie's still in the lead, but Katherine's gaining on him. Katherine Callahan, Dr. Katherine Callahan, she'll be joining us. And I've told you for the last couple days that we would have a special guest joining us as well. I didn't say that special guest's name until we had the lock on it, knew. But now I will officially tell you that special guest, as you can see, is special guest Bethany Keller. For those of you that don't know who that is, she is a Madison County Councilor, and she will be joining us here in just a moment, and we'll be talking about all things crazy in Madison County. They had their first meeting of the year this week. They had their first meeting of the show this week, and the first meeting of the year this week, sorry. And it was a long meeting. It was contentious at times. It was kind of crazy and wild, and some things went on. And we kind of poked around at some of those things in the last couple shows, but I said, I think we probably need to dive into it in a big show and look at everything kind of dissect some things and go from there. And so who better to have on than the doctor and a counselor who you will see in the video. She is one of the people who is elected in Madison County to make decisions for the constituents there, for the citizens there. And I think she did a hell of a job. She seems like she is someone that is concerned about what's going on and is concerned about doing the best that she can for the citizens of Madison County. And that's what we like to see around here. We don't get to see that too often. So when we have somebody that's doing the best, we like to give them a pat on the back, tell them thank you for a good job, and talk to them to find out like what's going on and how maybe we can spread that to the other elected officials. And if that's not something that they're willing to catch, then maybe how we can get her cohorts voted off the council and other people voted in. We'll have to see what happens. But we're going to get into that in just a moment. Before we get there, I do want to tell you all something brand new that we have never, ever, ever, ever had before. I just want to let you guys all know we do have an official merch store open right now. Do you need official merch to show that you love or hate the political spotlight? If so, click the following link. It's on the ticker below. We have a bit.ly link there. So it's bit.ly/spotlight_merch. You can open that in your own tab. It is it is there. So you can see that. I want to show you just briefly before we get started here, kind of what we're looking at here. Here is some of the items already there. We'll have more things as we continue on. You'll be able to find it here. You'll notice because it's got our branding. You can find an amazing mug if you want to drink from a mug. There's a Lighthouse Studios mug. It's amazing. We also have a stupid Bilbrey mug. We've got a Sproles watch. If you want a Sproles watch shirt, you can get this in a shirt or a hoodie. We've got a political spotlight hoodie and several shirts. You can also get yourself a stupid Bilbrey t-shirt if you like stupid Bilbrey there and more. So check that out. You can find that at the bottom. We'll post that a couple times and post the link. You can also find the merch store in all of the descriptions of our episodes, as well as linked on the YouTube page. You'll also be able to find it on my social media, on Facebook at Kristopher H. Bilbrey on Facebook, or Bilbrey Live on Twitter, yada, yada, yada. And so all of that. And I promise you, none of the funds are going to pay anybody's bail other than my own if I am illegally arrested in council meetings fighting for our rights. So just to give you that little nod there. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will be bringing on our guests. We will pull up the always fabulous Dr. Katherine. Hello.
How is everyone?
All right. All right. And along with the our Katherine Callahan, we're going to pull up first-time guest, Councilor Bethany Keller. Hello.
Hello.
Coming live from a cave in Afghanistan.
Well, after what she went through, really, she was on the trenches. She needs to be in a hideout right now. It's such a great job.
I'm hiding out from the kids.
That can be just as scary. So why don't you tell us? They know us. The watchers know Katherine and I. And a lot of the people here from Madison County probably are familiar with you, but why don't you give the viewers a little biography of who you are?
Okay. So I started attending Madison County Council meetings a long time ago. I think my first meeting was in 2019, but I started attending every meeting regularly in 2021, and really sparked my interest. And it was really hard to follow along with. They weren't posting the agendas online ahead of time, and they weren't allowing public comment at all during the meetings. And so I would go and I'd observe, but it's really hard to kind of sink my teeth into it. And so I ended up running in 2022, got elected, and so I've just finished my first year on the council.
Okay. And although it doesn't particularly specifically matter on the local level, what party do you identify with?
I am a Republican. And
a real Republican, or?
I vote Republican, but there's 7 members on the council. We're all Republicans, but I feel like we have some different beliefs. So.
She is fiscally responsible.
Okay, so okay, she's fiscally responsible, and I for like 10 seconds, I started. So the people here in Delaware County that might not know her, I started to, and she can punch me at some point in the future. I started to say she would kind of be like a Ryan Webb counselor, but that is not the truth at all. And nothing like that, but you get what I mean. She's kind of one of the odd people out on the council. She's not part of the inner clique, would you say? Maybe not part of the
club.
Not the good old boys
not part
club.
of the good old boys club.
Okay, all right.
Now, Bethany's being real modest here. She needs to tell you who she beat to take her seat.
Oh yeah. Tell the people who you beat.
It was a big win.
Jerry Alexander.
Oh yeah.
And he'd been there. Who's he the right-hand man to right now? Braun?
Mike Braun.
Yeah, Mike Braun. Jerry Alexander. I sat with him at a Lincoln Day dinner in Jay County, and it was an interesting evening. Jerry is an interesting fella, and so yeah. Are you in a district or are you at large?
I am in a district.
What district are you in?
I'm District 1, and
District
it's actually a really large geographical area, and so it's Alexandria, Elwood, Orestes, the north part of Frankton, a lot of rural country area, and then the north part of Chesterfield and North Anderson outside city limits.
Wow.
And Summitville. Sorry, Summitville. Like looking at the map in my head.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of towns.
You said you moved into Madison County when?
2019.
So you moved in 2019. You ran in 2021.
No, 2022.
2022. Right. And 2023 was your first year in. So, man,
yes.
that's a pretty good thing. Moving into a pretty big thing. Moving into the county, and then running pretty quickly thereafter. That's amazing. That's really awesome. So, that's good. I'm welcome to the show. I'm glad that we have you here, and hopefully we will dive into some interesting conversation this evening. So, from your point of view, being a council member, what are the problems? I guess this is a two-pronged question. Either issues that are facing Madison County that would be in the council's wheelhouse. What do you think that those are? And then the second part of the question is, what are issues that you think are facing the council that, you guys, that you either need help with on the council or you wish could be different? Where are you standing on those 2 points?
Okay. So when I ran, my platform that I ran on was accountability. We need more accountability for department heads. We needed more transparency overall, and we needed a better respect for taxpayers. And last year was a really interesting year. It seemed like a constant fight the whole year. And the council overall has made improvements, small improvements in those areas, but there's still so much work that needs to be done. And I just wish it wasn't such an ongoing battle.
Yeah. I tell you, it's interesting because it's like there are several counties like up and side to side where all of the commissioners are Republican, all of the counselors are Republican, and it's like you would think in a situation like that it would be easy and everybody would be for fiscal responsibility and everybody would understand how important it is to listen to the citizens, and there would be no issues with citizens speaking to their elected officials during the meetings and yada yada yada. But that's not the truth. It's not the truth here in Delaware County. It's not the truth in Randolph County. It for a very long time wasn't the truth in Henry County. They're kind of shaping some things up, but I know you guys have got issues and have had issues over there in Madison County. So it's really crazy.
We don't have one person in the county who isn't a Republican. I say that gently. Everybody, yeah. I think, Bethany, everybody in the county seats are throughout the entire county.
I believe every county elected official is a Republican. Yeah. Yeah. That just happened.
Yeah. The other, the sheriff just took out what the Democrats held the sheriff seats for almost 50 years?
It's a long time.
Yeah.
But the one thing I think I would like to ask Bethany that the viewers would like to know is, how do you keep your cool?
I have a lot of practice at home with a 1, 2, and 4-year-old.
We don't know if you count to 10. We don't know, but you always seem to keep your composure.
And we're going to get to this part in the meeting. We're going to watch segments of the meeting that just occurred. So it's the first of the year. This is the end of basically what's technically the first full week in January. So we're doing all of the first of the year stuff. We just had a first meeting of January, first meeting of the year that you guys had, and generally those meetings are pretty light. You're kind of doing some housekeeping stuff and picking up who the leadership would be and all of that. But you guys had a massive agenda for this last night, or the last meeting a couple nights ago, and it was really, really crazy how packed that all was. One of the things that I was watching in there, I literally thought, man, if I was her, I would have just yelled. Like, I just don't. That's a good question. How do you keep your cool in there? And it's really amazing. But that's what people need to understand, is that even when you're voted down, and even when you make a motion and it dies for lack of a second, or you do get a second, but it goes away, at least you're giving voice to another thought, and you're preserving the record, you're keeping the record clean, and you're giving, people out there that instead of it just being blind, all 7 people thinking the same and pushing things through. So, I really appreciate it. And I know that there's people in Madison County appreciate it. And, so keep up. I sent you a message the other night, and I was just like, keep up the good work. You're doing a good job, even when it feels like you're getting kicked in the teeth. You're doing important work.
Was Tuesday night the first time that you'd ever voted yet or no solely on your own?
On an issue that large, yes. I mean, I voted a few times on my own on like transfer requests and things like that. But
sure,
Tuesday night was the first big one.
Yeah.
And she took a hard stance.
Yeah. And, you're not only did you vote no in your county, but like all of the other counties in Indiana, out of all 92 counties, there are only six other counties that have voted to not opt into that. And so out of all of the other 84 for
He's
whatever
saying-
counties that have opted into it. You know, who knows how many votes on those councils voted no. So, you know, you're one of just a handful of people in the state that's really, you know, fought back against this, saying no. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that push back against it, but it's very few. As far as elected officials. And so what you had to say, and I definitely want to listen to all of that, because your speech that you had prepared was phenomenal, and it's very important. So we might as well go ahead and get into this here. We'll put all stuff to the side, and we'll get started here. I've got some timestamps here, and I think that this is pretty important. If we're going to watch this, Megan, we're talking about Madison County Council meeting that started in January. This is the first meeting of the year, and it was kind of an interesting show. So if there's anything that happens or anything specific, Bethany, that you want to see or that you want to talk about, tell me to stop or whatever. We can do whatever, but I just want to start here from the beginning. The meeting starts. This is video that was provided by Katherine, and for about the first 5 minutes, they're just kind of sitting here talking. I just want to show a couple brief things here at the minute, because I don't know if this kind of stuff frustrates you. It would definitely frustrate me if I was a council member. It definitely frustrates me being who I am and watching all of this stuff. So this is just the start of the meeting here, and I've got a couple points of interest here. So if you guys didn't hear that, and you probably didn't, the meeting has started, and the guy that's currently the president before they vote for the 2024 president is the guy right here in the middle, Councilor Steele, and he's talking, but nobody can hear him. Now, my question is, did he talk like that basically the whole time he was president?
I think Bethany will tell you how many times I was told that I was out of line because I would say, "Can you speak up? We cannot hear you." And I'd get in trouble every time I would say, "You have microphones in front of you. I don't know what the problem. You want to get elected? Speak up for."
Yeah, enunciate, speak.
Yes,
I don't understand that. That was so frustrating to me because I was here. And being in the back of the room, you couldn't hear this. That's crazy, and
I do want to tell you, Chris, that I had a lot of people reach out to me about this video, and they said they were so frustrated after the way Bethany was treated. Some had to get offline and breathe. They were so angry. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
the video's had over 2,000 views. I've never had as many comments. That's over 600 comments on here. She did an amazing job.
I've got so much feedback as well.
Yes. So would you say, Bethany, that this is would this be the biggest meeting that you've had that you've got feedback on, or have there been other bigger?
People that I people, did it cut out?
Yeah, you froze there just for a second, but you're back.
Okay, sorry. A lot of people were contacting me ahead of the meeting, people I'd never spoken with before, so I met a lot of new people. That was great.
Yeah.
And then after the meeting was over, it seemed like everyone I knew was reaching out to me, and then new people were reaching out. Someone stopped me in the hallway. Actually, multiple people stopped me in the hallway to shake my hand on the way out. So I think the reception from the voters was really good.
Well, and before we continue on here, I just want to say,
whoever Julie Johnson is, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. I want to say, just briefly here, something that I really respect, because you don't see this a lot. A lot of times you see people hiding on your social media ahead of the meeting on the 6th of January. Now, I'm not gonna say the number, but Bethany had put out a post that said, "It has been brought to my attention that there is a post by Hoosiers for Medical Liberty circulating asking the council to reject the wasteful public health first spending. This money is excessive and comes with strings. We need fiscal responsibility and transparency. I have spoken to the Madison County Health Department, Hoosiers for Medical Liberty, and have reread Senate Bill 4. I have formed a personal opinion, but want to make sure my vote represents you. If you live in Madison County, please let me know if you have an opinion on this. You may comment here, you may email me, or may call or text me. And so she put that out and put that forward. And that's really big, because I'll tell you, we live in a world where a lot of elected officials, specifically elected officials who fall in the representative official business, being either state senators, state representatives, or county or city councilors or commissioners, just they don't want to be bothered with people outside of meetings. And so I think that's really big and really important. And I appreciate that.
At first, I was for the Health First program.
Mm-hmm.
And Bethany's kind of the first one that really brought it to me. I'd heard about it. I really didn't dive into it much. But then, and I told Bethany, I hate giving away free money. I really want to do this. But the more I got to looking into it, the more I began to realize, we've got a problem here. And when you look at the Health First program, and I don't know if people have read my comments, but in this past week, I've had some COVID positive patients. I've had patients come in who are complaining because now the insurance company no longer will pay for COVID testing. I've had people who there's Paxlovid or Ligavera that you can use to help offset the symptoms. It used to cost you nothing. Now I have to do a prior authorization, or it costs you $600 out of pocket.
True.
When that money used to be all free. And this is exactly when she had brought this, and I started diving back. I'm like, this is going to be exactly like the whole package here. We've given you the bill of goods. You know what you need. Well, now you can't afford it.
Yeah.
And I say this because as I was looking through this Health First proposal, and if I hear one more person say we can opt out at any time, and that is an acceptable answer, this is what I have to say to every counselor that is sitting up there. You want to tell me who's going to continue to pay those nurse practitioners? So you're going to walk in there, tell this entire staff that you've hired with grant money, we opted out, you guys are all out of a job. Then I want you to look at the constituents. I want you to look at all your patients, and I want you to say, sorry, I know we have 2 nurse practitioners that we have full time, but we can't accommodate all you people. This is what happens when you opt out.
Absolutely.
So there's no vision, there's no thought process here. And so that's why my whole thing was this opting out thing. Do you understand the domino effect of the people you will hurt in the end?
Well, the other thing that people just don't understand is, this is very much like, and we'll hear this in the meeting, but you'll hear people say, well, it's not going to be bad. The state can't come in and say this or that. And if they do, well, once we've said that we're okay with it, we'll fight it on the back end. Everybody in the world, if you've paid any attention to government, if you've been alive, if you're 15 years or older, you're aware that when the government does something and they say, okay, we'll do this now, very rarely do they ever reel it back in and say, okay, we're done with that. There's always problems with that. That's absolutely insane. That's kind of a very naive way of saying it. It's like saying, and I actually posted this to one of the other councilmen, but it's kind of like saying, I'm not going to take any preventative measures to not get skin cancer. And I'm going to live outside and I'm going to be crazy and I'm going to tan. And then when I get skin cancer, I'm going to say, wait a minute, I don't want this skin cancer. And it's like, wait, if you don't take the preventative measure now, once it happens, it's kind of like too late. You can want and wish and fight all you want, but it's already done. And for those that we're going to listen to Bethany's speech, but for those that want any other, a really good look into this, if you visit Hoosiers for Medical Liberty, you can find out some good information. And also, if you go on our YouTube page, these 2 videos right here in the middle, Live on Location, Medical Liberty versus Indiana State Enrolled Act 4, and Live on Location, Officials Schooled on Medical Liberty. You can watch both of these videos. And also then after that, I also had done a live video interview with Ashley Grog, who was the woman in that video. And she did a fantastic job of talking about all of this and explaining all of that. This is what she does. She's all on board with fighting this, and so that's a really, really big thing. So you can find all of that there. And there, oh, here it is, episode 24, Liberty, Budgets, and Bullshit. So you can find that right there on our page. But it's very important.
Let me ask Bethany a question.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany, this Health First, they say it's grant money, it's free money. Is there any money that the county's paying towards this?
20%. It's a 20% match.
So how much are we going to match this round?
Oh, Catherine.
Just off, it doesn't even have to be exact, just roughly. Is it more than 100,000?
Yes.
Okay. And that, I'm not looking for an exact number, but I want the people to see it's going to cost the taxpayers. This isn't, it's the same thing when she bought the RV. Oh, I got all this grant money to buy the RV. Well, everybody knows that RV stands for ruined vacations. They're outrageous to repair. Well, now she's getting repairs. And who's paying that? The taxpayers. There's no vision going on here. She has to have a better vision. She needs a better, and I get it. You don't have an MBA. Well, then get somebody who does. Because as far as I'm concerned, she's great at writing grants. But what about what it's costing the taxpayers? We're going to be up and running 4 health departments here in a minute in Madison County. I've never seen anything like it. But I just wanted Bethany to tell people this isn't free money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's continue on here just for a second here. And this is very important. They're going to go through the vote for president and vice president. And we're going to say the pledge here. They're going to do a prayer. They do this. They do the pledge.
Do note that it was most of the health department that was brought to the meeting.
That's the other that is a good note. And I want to say this room, for folks that have never been here, the audience is not a very large auditorium. I don't know how many seats exactly this holds. Bethany, do you know?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't know how many seats this is.
It's not very large.
It's not very large. But literally everybody in the back row most of the people in the second row, second back row in the back, are health department employees or spouses of people. And elsewhere, there's just other random elected officials or city or county employees. And I've always thought that's been weird about Madison County, that when you go there, their employees or the department heads or people there representing them always take up a majority of the seats, and they don't allow the public to sit in basically what's the public's seats. And I just always thought that's real kind of tacky. It looks empty here. It fills in here in a minute, and it gets real crazy. It was so hot in there, it made me sick. There were so many people in there the other night.
Is there a motion to close the nominations?
So they do this really kind of weird whispered vote. They get ready to move here. The gentleman down here next to Beth, here's Bethany. This gentleman, Ben Gale, becomes the president. And so they move into that. And then right here at the beginning, there's an interesting little issue, and I want people to hear this. Did we freeze? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the video is not doing anything.
Yep. Sorry. Hold on 1 second here. We've had a freeze.
Any opposed? Thank you, Council. Mr. Gale, if you'll take the rest, I'll hold on to those. Sure.
All right. So here's the meeting minute issue. And I just wanted to, here we go.
You know, Bethany, I don't understand why you want attention to
Okay, thank you,
detail, that
council.
you want something to be accurate.
It's not even the detail. I just want it to be true.
Right.
It blew my mind. Oh, and
Minutes
I'm
from
sorry, I
November
think she
14th
even
and
wanted
December
it to represent
11th,
what the people
2023.
were saying.
Right.
Motion.
I move that we amend the November 14th, 2023 minutes to state that there was a lengthy discussion had regarding the accuracy of the October 2023 minutes and the October 11th submission of the incorrect 2024 budget to Indiana Gateway. And I would like that statement inserted immediately following the council attorney inquires as to specific amendments proposed and immediately before motion proposed.
Okay, so for the people that might not have been able to hear that, can you tell them what you wanted?
Okay. So during the November meeting, we had over an hour-long discussion about the October minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that entire hour discussion was not reflected in the November minutes. And so I wanted one sentence added to the November minutes to cover an entire hour of the November meeting.
And so, okay, so, and what, do you know what that sentence was?
I mean,
Basically, by ballpark.
That there was a lengthy discussion had about the accuracy of the October 2023 minutes and about the incorrect and about the October 11th incorrect submission of the 2024 to Indiana Gateway.
Okay, and so basically,
really short version, we had a 7-hour meeting in October to pass our budget, and then the very next day, the auditor submitted an incorrect budget to Indiana Gateway for certification.
yeah.
But tell them
And
what
so-
time the meeting ended. It's not just it was a 7-hour
yeah.
meeting.
It was around 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember the exact time I wanted to get out of there.
But I stayed with you the whole time.
It was a
I know, it was a very long meeting.
a 7-hour long meeting that starts at 6 p.m. in the evening, and it ran for 7 hours. We've had those in Muncie before. They are always a treat. And the very next day, the auditor, who is the secretary, who is an elected official, but part of the auditor's job is he or she is the secretary to the council, the secretary to the commissioners, and he also works with the budget. He put in Gateway, which is, it sends it to the state, and it goes to the DLGF and all that stuff. Basically certified a budget that was, in your opinion, not what you guys discussed in the meeting.
No, it's not what we passed.
So
what happened before the October meeting is that several members of the council met with the auditor behind closed doors. They cut the budget from what had been presented to the public during the public hearing.
Madison County Internet.
And so Councilman Vaughn brought up that was a violation of the open door law, and it spurred this lengthy discussion, and we ended up having to go through the budget line item by line item and making compromises to finally pass a budget. And then the next day, what was submitted to the state for certification was the budget that the auditor had created with several members of the council behind closed doors, and not what we actually approved.
That's really frustrating. That's
had
really
Bethany
frustrating.
Not been watching, that budget would have gone through.
Do you know the difference in that budget? I mean, just the total overall number?
The overall number didn't change.
Okay.
But we ended up changing over 100 line items during the October
That's tricky.
meeting. So it was a significant different budget to what we actually passed.
Wow. I mean, that to me, the fact that there are not people lining up with torches and pitchforks to run those people out of town that was involved with that. That is absurd. And that is because I followed kind of what happened, but I didn't know that. And that is like they did a tricky to try to be sneaky. And I know that is wildly inappropriate and crazy to me.
And it was just such a blessing. Councilman McKelvon, he had called me and said, something doesn't feel right. They won't send me a copy of what we voted on. And I said, well, they don't have to send you a copy. Let me get on Indiana Gateway and get it for you. And that's how it was discovered. So, he deserves some credit here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what he's saying there in saying they won't give me a copy, you would be amazing, folks, at how many people, we're out here and you guys all know how many record requests I file in a given week or month or year at Muncie or various other places. And what kind of fight we have to be an elected official and not be able to get something that you're requesting is maddening. And it happens all over. And it's really, really crazy. And I can't believe that. And good on you guys for speaking up and fighting back. And then you had that fight and all that discussion and carry on. And they didn't put any of that in the minutes. And so at this meeting, you were asking for it to just show that there was difference, because at these minutes that you guys are approving, there was no coverage of that, right?
Correct. And so during the November meeting, there was this hour-long discussion about the wrong budget being submitted, but then also the October minutes were so vague that had I not brought to everyone's attention that the wrong budget had been submitted, the October minutes could have been interpreted as that budget he submitted being the one that we passed.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal to me.
Well, and so I want you guys to hear, because there's been some argument about what we're going to hear next, and I'm going to clear this up. And what she just said is very important. So listen to this.
Just for a little bit of context, when this item came up, we did check with the Public Access Counselor on this. What we were informed is under Indiana law, the minutes of this meeting are the auditor's purview. They are the auditor's view or interpretation of what happened in the meeting. And the county council cannot force the auditor to make changes to minutes. It's part of the check and balance system of government. What we can do is we can, and I spoke with Auditor Gardner about this, his view is that he tries to keep record of the actual actions that have been taken. So minutes and votes and outcomes of the meeting. And all the other context, for one, when we look at an October meeting that was 7 hours, you would need a full-time person to be able to get all of the context into those minutes.
So, all right, first and foremost, so what Ben, the president's saying here is the budget, the minutes of each meeting are basically the under the purview of the auditor, which is the guy sitting down there in the tan jacket with his back to us, this gentleman right here. And they're saying that basically, they cannot change what he puts in there. They cannot change. And there was a lot of people saying, wait a minute, that's not right. You can't, that's nuts. And now he's saying, like, we had a 7-hour meeting. Let me tell you, the city of Muncie, during our 7 and 8 hour meetings that we were having, like back to back to back in September and November and October and November of 2019, every every and, every burp that was happened on the record from gavel to gavel was in those minutes. And it's the city clerk's office who does those minutes. And it took her about a week and a half to do them. He has 14 or so employees. He wouldn't need just one extra full-time employee to do it. It's real simple. They can take some notes for memory. They could record it. They could then go and put it in Google Translate or Google Docs, drop it, and it would give them an absolute transcription of what happens, and then they could go through and make corrections in that document. And if there are errors, they could fix those. And most meetings, it doesn't take long. I've talked to her, and it takes her an afternoon to do those. Meetings that are long, it might take a few more hours. So, it's interesting to me that a city the size of Muncie can do this, and with all of the corruption and all the dirt and all the craziness, we can put literally every word that is spoken inside of a meeting. But you get Madison County, and they're saying, well, it's this and that, and we can do this. Now, I did contact Luke Britt. Everybody knows I have a pretty good relationship with Luke. And I called Luke, and I double checked what was being said here. And Ben Gale is correct. When I say this, bear with me. He is correct in that the state law, the Indiana Public Access Law, states that the only thing that is needed by law to be kept is memoranda of the council, who's there and who's not. Are there any absences? And then the votes, what they are on and who voted for ordinances or resolutions or actions during the meeting. Everything else, as Luke says, is icing on the cake. That's the only thing that state law needs. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, that I titled this episode Floor, Not the Ceiling. And as I say that frequently, this is where we get into the kind of the pissing match of, okay, what Ben Gale is describing is the just good enough. It's what the law allows. Do you, as citizens, want someone to do the bare minimum, or do you expect a little bit more of your elected officials who you're paying good money to do the jobs they're in? And that's, where everyone has to decide for themselves, because the law is the floor. It's the starting point. There's a whole lot more room to go. That, you can go from the floor to the ceiling. And what Ben is describing here is ridiculous. Why we wouldn't want more out of our elected officials. And what Bethany is saying is absolutely right. There's no reason why this should be acceptable. I would throw a fit if this was my elected officials, and hell, I'll probably throw a fit just because I know him. This is ridiculous. And so, and
maybe Bethany knows he gets paid $70,000 or $80,000 a year to be the auditor. He can take some notes.
Sure.
And just for transparency, the council gets paid right around $14,100 a year.
Okay. So,
and for some of those elected officials, for some of those elected officials, that's why they take the month of December off, where Bethany's willing to work 52 weeks out of the year. The ones that have been kind of professional politicians, they only want to work the 11 weeks out of the entire year.
Well, they also took July off, if you'll remember.
There you go.
Yes.
See? I mean, and Bethany's like, what's the problem here? We got enough for a quorum. Well, it wasn't enough to carry the votes. So now they're not going to meet.
That is absolutely frustrating. And to hear them say in an office, well, we would need another full-time person. That's crazy to me. I've been inside that auditor's office before, and I've seen the people, just kind of sitting there. I know they work and they work hard, but they've got a lot of downtime too. Folks, I've worked inside county government before. I'm aware of what goes on and what doesn't. So it's just really crazy to me. And then the other thing, before we really get into the thick of it, because this stuff is important, here at 15 15 minutes, he says this, and this is very interesting to me because it's kind of a back and forth between Counselor Keller and Counselor Gale.
Another thing that I learned looking into this is it's almost a procedural vote at the county council to, we say, approve our minutes. We don't even have to have this on the agenda. There's nothing that requires us to approve minutes. So it's really more of a procedural thing. Again, according to the public access counselor, there's no authority here to force a change. So just want to make sure we're all understanding. I think sometimes we get caught up in some things that really have less meaning than necessary, but
I think sometimes we get caught up in things that have less meaning than is actually necessary. And that, to me, like, sometimes I think that these people, they don't think about the shit that they say. Like, that, to me, if I was an elected official, that is, I would never say something like, I would never be caught dead saying something like that. And that is so maddening because, to me, as somebody who keeps these people accountable, I oftentimes go back into the minutes and look. And I know when anytime I've had to question Muncie on something if there might be something that I need to question Muncie from 2012, and I go back and I can see word for word what happened in that meeting. But if we're going by the Ben Gale and the Rick Gardner minutes, and I pull up your meeting and I can't see anything but the votes and who the counselors were there or not there, that's really hard to keep track of who's saying what. And oftentimes you'll get counselors who'll say, well, I don't want to talk about this, out in the world, come into the meeting and talk on the record. Well, okay. But if the record isn't the official record and there's no record of it, then, like, what the hell? And thank God for the people of Madison County, because Katherine's there and recording, because sometimes Madison County records it and sometimes they don't. So there's not always an audio or video recording, which they also bring up. And it's like, that's not always true. So I just think that that's very interesting. And I'm glad that you fight against that, because it's really crazy.
And the other thing with Katherine being there to record that is wonderful is when they take a recess or as soon as the meeting adjourns, some of the counselors are totally different people. And so it's really nice to have somebody there that continues to record once the county recording is off.
Yeah. That's all. It's always interesting to see what happens once they know their cameras are off. And I think they forget that there are other cameras in the audience sometimes. And that is a good thing to happen. Next here we get into where Bethany makes a motion. And I want to, this is interesting. Let's listen to this.
You could have a full-time person reviewing and typing every word. I mean, he just obviously doesn't have to.
I guess the only thing is the roll call, was the roll call vote mentioned in that minute? I mean, because we kind of have to record that. I mean, all the votes.
And that is also recorded in the documents that we sign afterwards, where you sign your name and you do your yes or no.
There's also public comment that was made that wasn't included in the minutes. I don't think that's important.
Right. Well, again, his practice, and this, Mr. Gardner, your office also keeps the minutes to the commissioners' meetings as well. Is that right? So his practice has been to not necessarily put every comment made, because again, how does he discern which comments should and shouldn't be? And he doesn't have the staff to do that for everybody. So he tries to stick to just actions that were taken, which in our situation means votes that were taken by the council and the outcomes of those votes.
At any point in time, anybody can pull up the archive of the meeting.
Right. There is video.
Okay. Except for when there's not, though.
So we should do their job.
Yeah.
Here comes the vote.
And I did review this, and you're right. You are in compliance of that statute. Okay. So we do have a motion in a second. Mrs. Keller's motion to amend
Mrs. Keller.
Councilman Emery's main motion.
Yeah. What in the world?
They won't call me councilwoman. They call me Mrs.
That's always interesting to me when they do that, because you see that in so many other. I've seen that in so many other cities and counties and towns, and it's weird how they do that.
So we need to vote on.
Now, what I want you guys to watch is they're going to vote. She's made the motion and she got a second. I think that Mikhail seconded it. Either Mikhail or Jody, one or the other, seconded it. But we're going to have a vote. And I want you to watch what happens with this guy right here. And I want you to watch what happens with this guy right here when this vote occurs. Watch this.
On Keller's motion to amend first. So on the motion to amend, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. He said aye. Okay. Now it was quiet, but he opened his mouth and he said it. Watch what happens. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, hey, no, you said aye. Look at this. He shot him that look. And I'm like, I saw this and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Watch what happens next. He got shot that look. And now Steele's like, oh, shit, I messed up. Watch this.
Okay, let me try that again.
Let's try that again, because I didn't like Counselor Steele's voting there, because if you would go by that vote that just happened, Bethany's vote passed. So that's very interesting.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay, the amendment the motion fails. We're taken.
Very interesting here.
Let me try that again.
Oh, here we go.
So on the motion to amend, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I cannot believe that. So did you know that in the meeting that happened?
I
You're
knew it happened, but I couldn't see President Gale's face. So I couldn't see him turning to Rob. I just, I understood that Councilman Steele was not happy with how he had voted and that he wanted to change his vote, but I missed President Gale, the face that he gave him, the mom look that he gave him.
Yes, the mom look. You're muted, Catherine.
Great pickup. That's like a great pickup. And now you're starting to see the good old boys club. And this is the thing. The good old boys club in the past has always been able to circle their wagons until they strangulate you. They'll pick, and so finally, somebody asked me the other day, they said, Bethany's not going to last. I said, oh, I don't think it's Bethany's not going to last. I think there's some other people that aren't going to last.
No. Yeah,
her stamina is young, and she's going to go all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. We need to get her some help. And I want to say for the record, we'll see this. I'm particularly not myself very fond of Councilman Vaughn. I think he does good things. I think he does some bad things, does some crazy things. But I know that as a team, and I'm not asking Bethany to go there because I know that Counselor Keller needs people that's working, for and against, and everybody does different things in there, and they're all their own vote. But, we know who's against her, and I think that they have a pretty good section, but we need to get some real solid people in here in some of these other seats, in for Steele and in for Gale and in for Emery, that can really give her some.
If you don't say the Likens have to go, I'm really going to be.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I always forget her. I really just have I have a disliking for all of them. And so I kind of block them out. But yeah, she needs to go. Okay. So moving on there, we're going to get into some kind of meat of the meeting here now. So that happened. Let me see here. 2908. Let's go to 2908. There's something interesting happens here.
Bring up a few items. This council operates under Robert's Rules of Order. We have at times
loosely based
adhere to a very loose interpretation of that, which is okay. Some bodies do operate a bit more loose when that works and is functional. There are times when a little bit more of a strict adherence to that is necessary when a body struggles at times to stay on task. And
now, for me, from being an outsider, I think that this is bullshit. I think what he's doing here is they don't have a trouble staying on task. I think what he's referring to here is when Counselor Keller or Counselor Norick or even Counselor Vaughn bring up something that we don't like and we want to shut them down, and they hold their own because they're elected officials no different than us, and they have as much right and room to speak here as the rest of us. We don't like that, and so we need to get heavy-handed and try to really kind of go crazy here. And so I think that's what he's doing with this here. It's very nuts to me, and so I didn't like this whole thing, and it's very heavy-handed to me.
Before I was on the council,
Mhm.
They would improperly use Robert's Rules of Order to shut down conversation of the counselors that they didn't agree with.
So explain to the people what you mean by that, how they would do that. That's very important for people to know.
So it happened mostly to Councilman Vaughn, and he would be speaking, and in the middle of him trying to talk, normally it was Councilman Emery would say, "I call for the question."
Mm-hmm.
They would cut him off and they would vote. And so once I got on the council, the first time they tried to do that, I called him out and said, "Actually, you can't." I said, "Point of order. You can't close discussion without a 2/3 majority vote. You can't call for the question unless we take a 2/3 majority." I was on the council. When they did that to Councilman Vaughn, they wouldn't have. They could have taken a 2/3 majority vote, and they could have shut him down anyway. And
Sure.
so it's important that that Councilman Vaughn and Councilwoman Nork will vote with me on that, because we all believe in allowing other people to speak.
Yes.
Now, Robert's Rules of Order was created to control discussion, just to have it like in a civilized manner, but it wasn't to suppress discussion.
Right. And that's something that the city of Muncie does quite frequently, and they do that same thing. And they just really recently, in the last meeting or so, had that very argument. And so when you said that, I thought that was interesting, and I'm glad that you called them out on that. And I'm glad that, they do that. And I really do hope, even, whether you guys agree or disagree on things, I do hope that Counselor Vaughn and Counselor Norick continue to, at least support the idea of allowing everyone the chance to speak, both counselors and citizens alike. I respect you guys for doing that. So
as long as it's not me speaking, everybody gets to speak. This wasn't really a good meeting, Bethany. I'm going to be honest with you, because I think this is the first meeting in about 27 meetings that I wasn't told I was out of line. Even when I'm sitting in the audience, I'm told I'm out of line.
You didn't try hard enough, Catherine.
I know.
You need to try harder. You need to try harder there, Catherine. Okay, so moving.
Sometimes allow legal counsel time to review things that might need review. So I'm going to just ask kindly that as much as you possibly can, and it's usually not an issue, but when it is, it always seems like multiple departments have the last minute request all at once. So I'm just going to ask, do your very best to hit the deadlines for submissions for our
I respect what he's saying here.
We do want to try to help, and we know that with our meetings happening once a month, 30 days for us in this role may not be a long time, but for those of you who are working every day, every week in the county building, I know that 30 days is a long time to wait for.
So basically what he's saying here is he's asking the county department heads, to obey to the deadline rules. What is the deadline, Bethany, to file?
It's about 2.5 to 3 weeks before the council meeting.
Okay. So yeah,
so it's a significant amount of time.
Yeah. So, there's time there, and I understand what he's saying. Sometimes there's things that just cannot be helped. And the other thing is, I've heard a lot of people talk about when there comes a time to need to maybe suspend the rules and get something to come through or whatever. There are times that's necessary. I would have a problem if that's happening every time. That used to happen with the Muncie Council, that it happened every time. And the council in the last 4 years said, hey, we're going to put a stop to this. And they really did. But, there are times that is necessary, and that's just a part of government.
Now, Bethany, how long does it take them to get you all the information so you can prepare for a meeting? It's not a trick question.
I typically get the council packet the Thursday before the meeting.
So you have, 5 days to prepare?
Yes. And I've been asking sooner than that. And occasionally they will send the new money request prior to that. They have all the new money requests completed because they have to advertise it at least 10 days out. So there's no reason that they can't regularly be sending the new money request to me, to all the counselors 10 days out. But yeah, it's normally the Thursday before that I get the council packet. Sometimes it's Wednesday, sometimes it's Friday.
Now, I also want to point out to the public that Rick says he doesn't have enough help. He would have to pay somebody overtime to come and help take minutes. And as you look at the screen, I just want you to know that down here to the right is the chief deputy auditor, who probably is on a salary. And then over here to the left is one of the deputy auditors, and she really is the one taking the minutes. So they kind of talk out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to this. There's no reason between the three of them we can't get some accurate meetings.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. You could have,
I think Muncie, the city of Muncie helped them do this little chart they've got going on because it's
the data points. The data points are like, what's going on here? Kate, that's hilarious. This is from Auditor Rick Gardner's presentation that he put on, and I'm trying to think. I want to get to who was it that was up when you guys first started getting into the part about the grant, where you had your little question about the process of what you wanted to do. Do you know who was up, Bethany?
I don't.
I thought it was a woman who was up speaking.
Was it Jessica?
No. What, Tracy?
That's Jessica right there.
Right.
Was it?
No, but Jessica talked first about the Parks and Recreation Board.
Okay.
So I think grants is further in than that. Yeah, it's definitely past that. No,
it's past this.
It's past that. Yes.
Okay.
Because that's planning with an out-of-state travel request.
And I just want to point out while you guys are looking at all this that these people act like we got all this money. It's from ARPA and CARES Act, and hey, raising your local income taxes.
There you are, right there.
It was her. Yes, that I remember that. Yes, you're right.
Discussion.
I had a question on the sheriff jail transfer. It's really more a procedural thing. So are we going to have to transfer funds each time a new employee is hired to make sure that the matrix system is
okay, this was
you need to.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's Sheriff Beeman.
Yeah.
And this is because one person first passed.
Juvenile probation. We applied for a grant through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute.
Yeah, I think you asked it in the middle of her.
I did.
That we have been approved for $20,000.
So she's up here and she's talking about these grant funds, and Counselor Keller is getting ready to bring up a point which is to me very important, and I just want you to hear you guys hear the back and forth there, and I want you to hear what her side of this is.
It's a diversion planning grant, and our goal is to work with the prosecutor's office and local school corporations to try to address truancy that has been increasing across the country. We've definitely seen an influx of truancy referrals to juvenile court in Madison County. So we're hoping to work with the schools, with the prosecutor's office on some innovative ways to address that.
This grant has been every year.
This is a new grant.
This is a brand new.
This is a brand new grant.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Emery and a second by Councilwoman Norick. Any discussion?
I have a question, not directly for you, but more on our the grant process for the county. Who signs the grant agreements? Is that the department heads?
The department heads submit the grants primarily. I can't speak for all grants because depending on where the grant comes from, there's different rules, there's different requirements, different goals of the grant. But primarily it's a department head or somebody designated. And then it does also have to be signed off by the auditor because the money goes through the auditor's office.
Okay. So I'm just kind of asking the council, is this something that the council, or grant something that the council should have more oversight on since we have to approve the appropriation? And if so, can we create a council committee to review all grants prior to appropriating them in the future?
Can I ask a question?
And so, okay, tell them what you were asking there.
Okay, so it seems like every month we have people that are department heads that come in and they want us to appropriate new grants that they've gotten. But the council doesn't get to see what the grant agreement is. So like the written agreement between, I believe it's the department head and the grantee. And then we don't really get to see any of the details of that grant. So they just come up, they talk for 30 seconds to a minute about a grant, and the council, everybody votes yes. Since I've been on the council, they've not declined any grant funding. It's just kind of like a rubber stamp of approval. And so what I'm saying is, why don't we form a committee of counselors and start reviewing this before the council meetings to make sure that all the grants that the county are accepting are actually good decisions for the county and don't come with strings and don't cost us extra money in other areas.
And let me just, piggyback onto this. While I was chief deputy coroner, and we all know that was a lot of controversy, the coroner's office doesn't get a lot of grant money. It just doesn't. Come to find out, as I was in this role, the money goes to the health department. The coroner's office is supposed to get part of that grant that the health department's getting. So when we had OD2 money, overdose money, the coroner's office should have gotten a portion of that. And here's the other thing. When we went through COVID, Jerry Alexander says the coroner's office was never affected by COVID. We in the coroner's office received zero CARES Act money, period. None. The coroner's office has received zero ARPA funds. None. Why? Because these county officials believe that the coroner's office was never affected by COVID. So that's my problem. When people ask me what my problem is with the Board of Health, is that a lot of that grant money is supposed to be shared, just like the Narcan that we have coming in. We've got people who are watching this show tonight who need Narcan. Stephanie takes it upon herself to say, well, I have to supply the hospitals. I have to supply the sheriffs. Are you kidding me? The hospital is a for-profit organization. They make their own money. And they can buy in bulk. I bet you they can get that stuff pretty cheap. What about the people who need it in our community? That truly is what the grant money is for. And so I agree with Bethany. There needs to be some oversight. There needs to be some accountability because no one knows who's supposed to be getting a piece of that pie. So what happens is, when I figured out that we were supposed to get that overdose money, and thank you out there to Chief Deputy Coroner Alfie in Marion County, she is running for the coroner in Marion County. So I would vote for her. She is a Democrat. She's an amazing woman. She says to me, hey, why are you getting some of this money? We're watching you guys. Your coroner's office is on welfare. We feel really bad for you. Should we donate some supplies to you? Or can we come and get you guys off welfare? And I'm like, I know this is awful. We can't even afford gloves. And she says, you're supposed to be getting your grant money from the health department. Well, by the time I figured this out and I went to get it, Stephanie had spent it all And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
And so that's the reality. If people want to know why I have such a problem with this, because that grant money is not being applied appropriately to the different areas. That's what my problem is.
Yeah. That's crazy. So we've had people here saying, wow, that's a great idea, Councilor Keller. Let's hear how her colleagues felt.
When you talk about oversight, are you looking at wanting to have input?
And in fairness, Councilor Keller wasn't asking the woman at the podium. She was asking her fellow councilors for their input. And she's the woman at the podium is trying to answer and trying to be right. But, you know, we still are waiting for the councilors because that's who she was speaking to.
Yeah, she was put in a bad position.
Yeah.
I personally think the council needs to know what the department heads are agreeing to, if there's like strings attached to these grants, or if the grant is going to cost us money in other aspects, like down the road, or if the grant pays for an employee, are we going to have to pay for more office space and things like that? So it's not directly at you. You're just the first person up here for a grant tonight, so I wanted to kind of ask the council what our views are on that.
I think when we go through the appropriation process, those are appropriate questions to ask the presenter. You know, for instance, would this $20,000 create any additional unbudgeted expense for the county, or, you know, some of the other lines of questioning that you had? I personally don't see that we would need to be more involved in that. You know, I look at other line items in the budget that are, say, general fund or public safety funded. You know, the county council is not really, I don't think, statutorily given the authority to get into more micromanaging of what exactly it's spent on. Now, I think part of your question was
statutorily, you're the fiscal body of the county. The fact that he would think that, you know, that it's kind of a dumb point that you would be asking about, you know, having a little bit more oversight on how grant money is spent is shocking to me.
Yeah, they constantly tell myself and Councilwoman Norick not to micromanage the departments, to let the department heads be in charge of their own budgets.
Well, if that's the thing, he needs to quit cutting people's budgets. Then he just needs to let them have whatever they want. I mean, that's you're micromanaging them when you go through the budget and decide what you're taking out and putting in. So I don't know why he would say that to you guys, because it's exactly what he's doing at the end of the day. And when they go and meet with the three of them, with the auditor, and then they call the fourth person just so they can say they didn't have a quorum, you know, let's just get over that and call it what it is. But here's the problem. Is he crazy? Let's just wait till the presenter presents the night of the meeting. What if Bethany looks at it and says, whoa, slow your roll. You know, part of this money is supposed to go to this department. This is not all supposed to be done by her. So why don't we have both of these people present, and then we'll decide who is in need of the money and who has a better need for it. I mean, there is nothing about Ben Gale that is proactive. He is a completely, and in this council, other than Jody and Councilwoman Bethany, they are totally, let's be proactive. These other guys, they're all reactive. And then it's too late. I mean, we're going to be bankrupt by 26.
Yeah.
Doesn't a department need to get approval from the council prior to even submitting a grant application?
No.
You can do whatever you want. This is Madison County. However, if you're Councilwoman Keller or Norick or something, or me, you can't do nothing.
They have to have permission to spend the money. And so that's what they're coming to us at the meeting to ask for the appropriation. So it's permission to spend the money.
Now, that's funny you say that, Bethany, because let me ask you, because I
Thank
know
you.
that I did not misunderstand. I heard Stephanie Mellinger say, we've already started spending the money. But wait a minute, you're here tonight to be appropriated and granted that she could accept the money. So why was she spending the money already? She hasn't been in front of you guys yet.
What I heard her say, and I could have misheard, was that the money was deposited January 2nd. And that just means it was deposited to the county. So the county has received the money from the state.
Yeah. And then she goes on and says, and we've already started spending.
Yeah, if I must have missed that because I was not under the impression that she had spent without an appropriation. And if she did spend without an appropriation, that's a Class B misdemeanor. So
yeah, we'll listen to that.
That would be a
that
really
would be
big
a
deal.
Serious problem. We will listen to that because I mean it'll be here in just a few moments, but we will definitely listen to that because that would be a problem. That would be a real big problem. Okay, so well, let's just go on here and see what happens.
Wasn't necessarily with that, or your comment wasn't with that, but more what's tying the county to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is it a good financial decision? Because not all free grant money is free and is a good decision for the county. Not saying yours isn't. So could I volunteer to create a form of questions that department heads would fill out prior to us appropriating the grant, just a draft to bring to the council next meeting?
More efficient.
Doug, as far as the role of the council, do you have any thoughts on that? I want to make sure that we're not getting into someone else's turf.
The role of the council in appropriating, I think, addresses what Councilor Keller was saying, but it shouldn't take place before the grant is applied for.
No.
Application. So if there's a line of questioning that the council wants some answers to before we consider it at this meeting, that may be appropriate, but the council shouldn't step in front of the executive and apply for grants. They shouldn't do that. Their authority.
He reminds me of Aaron Clark. I'm not a big fan.
That second step in the check.
That's what I meant. I wasn't saying to get in front of the application process before when it comes time to appropriate, so that we know what we're appropriating and we're sure that we're being fiscally conservative and that the grant is a good decision.
Mr. Quality. Tell me if I'm right. These different departments, they have a process that they apply to the grants with the state grant. They still have to answer for it, who's giving them a grant. So where it's formal that we approve it, I think we can ask questions, but we got to be careful to maybe hold accountable but they can't just go and just blow the money on me because they're accountable for that. I mean, I understand what Councilwoman Keller's saying, but I mean, there's a process they have to go through. Kind of what you just said before. I mean, they got to be accountable themselves to that grant, with the state grant.
Yeah, because there's never any problems when that happens.
Is that not correct?
You're correct. When they apply for a grant, there are certain grant requirements.
All right, we'll move on here.
Well, let me just kind of procedurally get us back on track here.
Let's get back on track here with no point.
So can I ask you, Bethany, when do they come back and actually show you or tell you what they truly spent it on? Does that ever happen?
No. They just come to us with permission to spend it, and then they spend it. Yep. But they have to report back to whoever the grantee is, but they don't report back to the council. And so, I mean, Councilman Vaughn is right in that there is accountability with grants to the person who's giving you the grant, but I don't. It's in the best interest of taxpayers.
So, Chris, say that they wrote the paperwork, they turned it in the state to make it all look nice, and then come to find out it wasn't spent correctly. Is the council anywhere responsible with that? Because should they have gone back to look and make sure or spot checked it?
I mean, I don't think
they're our fiscal body.
I don't think that the council's responsible per se. I mean, they've done what they've done. I think where it really comes into play is more in the budget process, you know, of what goes on with, you know, when a department head is budgeted money and how they spend that money. And then what happens when they come through and they ask for money at the next budget process and knowing how they spent this money and whatnot. I don't know that the council would be, liable for anything, or it'd be necessarily their fault. But I do think that her question of, getting out in front of it ahead of time and asking these questions just for a little bit more accountability and transparency could never hurt anything. I don't know why they would think that that's micromanaging or doing anything else. And it's not like she said, hey, can we do this? And can I send this home with Emery to have him do this? She volunteered to do the extra work. And it's like, oh, no, we can't do that.
And I will tell you that when we took over in the coroner's office, this is before Bethany's time, and we met with Auditor Rick Gardner, he said, it is not his duty or his job to oversee how we spend the money. So if I have enough money in my account and I want to go buy a giraffe, I can go buy a giraffe as long as I don't need that money for anything else. And I said, are you kidding me? He says, yeah, it's not his job. And how this all came up is that cosmetic supplies were being bought in the coroner's office and paid for by the taxpayers, right? And he said, how am I supposed to know what you use or you don't use in your office? It's not my job. I just make sure the claims are paid and you have enough money in your account. And that's when he gave me the scenario. If you want to go buy a giraffe, you can buy one. Okay. I don't know.
Under what line item?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Would that fall under other services and charges?
Other services and charges. It would fall under other services and charges. It would have to. Oh, that's great. Okay, coming up here, we're going to get to this point where
See, Gardner's gone again. He must have left 5 times that night.
Yeah, man. He was up and down and up and down. He and I had a couple conversations out in the hall. It was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I was like, what are you doing out here? I can't imagine him sitting through a 7-hour meeting. Holy crap. Okay, so we get ready.
That's his only assignment.
Yeah, and I think since ours says part-time on both, we should be.
Okay, yeah, I apologize then. That was just probably an error on our part when we submitted that.
I just want to make sure we do the ordinance.
Yeah,
So we already have a motion from Councilman Vaughn. No, you made a motion, the way I understood it, you made a motion to pass these en masse. And
it says
Councilwoman Norris
two.
seconded that. Any discussion
Got
on the motion?
here.
So do we want to have we haven't.
So currently, we have a motion to open up for public comment on this specific issue.
Okay, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we open this for public comment.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Is there a second to that motion?
Wait a minute. If we want to make a motion after, right?
You can make a motion anytime.
You can tell she's getting a little frustrated here.
Second, are there any questions for?
Wow.
I wasn't
Ms.
opposed to, I thought we were doing something else. So I'm not opposed to having public comment on this.
Okay.
Because I think it's important that they have their ability to talk.
Now, here's the
So,
thing. Madison County doesn't
second.
want public comment, and Bethany has fought.
So do we want to have a public?
Yeah.
We haven't.
So currently, we have a motion to open up for public comment on this specific issue and a second. Is there anything out of line with this?
He's trying to find, listen to him. Look at him trying to find, was there anything out? What do you mean? He acts like this is the first time he's ever been the president of a council meeting. Like, are you for real? A motion was made and it got a second. What are you? You can tell he's looking to the attorney to be like, save me. Tell me we can't do this for some reason. But that's ludicrous.
No.
Okay.
Council wants to have public comment. They're allowed to do that.
Okay.
As Mel just said,
So,
laws passed a long time ago. So you all have taken comments from public.
right.
Can we do that again?
There's a motion in a second, so now would be a time for discussion on opening public comment. So Councilman Bond, do you have that?
I do want to say, I took a lot of time on this, took it away from a lot of things this week when I got last Tuesday, a week ago. I was on the phone with Ms. Melder at 6:30 this morning. I woke up at 5:30. I contacted 2 state senators. I understand the people out here, the folks, the citizens, the taxpayers of this county, they get the concerns. I really do. I read every description twice. Look at the bill, look at the amendments, actually, the first bill that came out in the Senate and the House changed amendments. I think there's a thing in our society that right now we just trust in about every government. And me and Stephanie talk about this one. And she told me that if something was out to come down and she was afraid of that if she couldn't do what that she had to do, she felt like she dictated, she wouldn't want the money. Now, some people said, well, so I think we got to remember, we have a lot of, and if you live in a county, that's great, but I live in the city of Anderson. I graduated in 94 in Anderson. I've watched it from the 90s to go downhill with obesity, tobacco. So if we just say no to this money because we feel like the state government's going to come in, I don't have a problem of taking back the money if they're going to dictate to Stephanie. We're going to do this. I did ask the state senators today that can they just come in and just say, we're going to make our county health department person just do this. And no, they're going to have to go through that Senate and the House. So I talked to many people at the state today on that. So I appreciate what Stephanie's done. I would like to see the public, because I don't want to ignore people out here.
Here goes.
These are the taxpayers that are involved. I want to hear everybody. I'd be in favor of public comment within reason. That's what I have to say.
I don't know what that means. Public comment within reason. Public comment, just period. Public comment.
Okay, so the motion on the table currently is whether or not to put up for public comment. Is there any discussion amongst the council on that?
May I make a comment real quick?
Yes.
Would it help if I read through those for public health services so maybe those who want to speak know what they're speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That comment really bothers me.
Okay. So talk about that.
She's assuming that the people that are coming to the meeting to give public comment don't know what they're speaking on.
Yeah, it's like why would that? I fought because I am very passionate about this, and when they opened this up, I was going to speak on it, and I thought, they're going to try to bust me out. I don't live over here, and there's people speaking. So I won't get in the way, but when I did step up and speak, because they go through the whole thing about signing up and putting your name and your address. But I was going to speak, but go ahead.
I want to talk a little bit because she opens up and it was either Cheryl Dodd McKinney or Shelley Boggs. I can't remember who it was, but Stephanie is a health administrator who is supposed to serve the people. And she starts off when she speaks that she has talked to these council members until nauseam. Well, does everybody understand that nauseam? That means that it indicates that a topic has been discussed extensively and those involved have grown sick of it. Well, yes. I don't know. The public hasn't grown sick of it. So why would she even use that word? And she didn't say it once. She said it about 3 or 4 times, till nauseam. Well, if you feel that way, you probably better get out of that position because you're wanting $1.5 million. So you're going to be talking about this for a lot longer. I also want the public to know. And I'm going to be very clear. I know everybody's like, oh, she's done a great job at this. And she's done a great job. Well, she could have done a lot better job. We have been under her reign since she's taken over in 2017. Out of 92 counties, we have ranged anywhere from 89 to 75.
Yeah.
And you build a pole barn and an RV, and you're telling me, and here's the other thing, had she not built that pole barn for $900,000 to put an RV in, and had she not gotten that RV for $500,000, but mind you, it's grant money, so it's okay. That comes to the $1.5 million. We wouldn't have had this discussion. Bethany wouldn't have been put on the spot like this. And she could have taken that $1.5 million. That's exactly what this grant money that she's asking for the state. She's selling our county soul to the state.
Right. Yeah.
Just to build a pole barn and get an RV.
Right. Well, yeah. So I'm glad. Those are excellent points, and I'm glad that you definitely brought that up, because then she kicks in here and she reads for the next about 40 seconds.
Them quickly.
She reads all these
Tobacco
things
prevention
to
and cessation,
make the
chronic
audience
disease
smarter.
prevention, trauma and injury prevention, fatality review, maternal and child health, school health, lead case management and risk assessment, access to and linkage to clinical care, tuberculosis prevention and case management, health-related areas during emergencies and disasters, immunizations, infectious disease surveillance and prevention, vital records. 60% of the funds can be spent on these preventive services. The other 40% of funding, food protection, environmental public health, tobacco, body piercing, eyelash safety, and sanitation.
I got to say something, you guys. I was the chief deputy coroner. We had 11 infant fatalities. At that year, she had the coroner removed from the health board on a technicality because he was a Republican to a Democrat. She has done everything in her power that anybody who's associated with me, she's gotten rid of so that she can't be questioned. And the other thing is, on all those fatality infants, we have to have a meeting with Child Protective Services, police officers. There's a huge conference call on those things, and it all has to be reviewed. Not one time did she or anybody from the health department show up, and you get to dial in for this thing. So I am to nauseam of watching her.
That's hilarious. All right, here's Councilor Fawn's comment.
Stephanie, would you be in favor of, if this goes on with public comment or to be open? Because I think some people are very, I don't want to take away intelligence, but I think
some people are very, what did he say? Some people are very, I don't want to take away intelligence, but I think he was trying to kind of imply that citizens were dumb. I just don't like that when you have department heads and elected officials and anybody else in the public sector that's getting paid public dollars that's talking about taking on all of this extra money that have to hear from their bosses whether they like it or not, their bosses being the public, and they're calling the public dumb. I just never think that's a good move.
And when your own health administrator is trying to deter the people, and here's the thing, what really makes me mad about this whole thing, if your public does not know what they're getting up here to speak on, then you as a health administrator have failed the public. So she has pulled on herself that she has not done a good job to notify the people.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
you have a lot of information to get. You've been very, I know some council people and some council members have asked you to respond well over, because I've looked at it.
Really?
So I appreciate that, and you've been well forming. Do you think, just to make our public feel better, not only in here, but out there, to have maybe a public hearing on it? I mean, just to educate, so it's not so.
I believe there was in June when the commissioners opted in. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, the
let Bethany speak on that
right now would be whether.
Yeah.
It was said multiple times at the meeting that there was a public hearing held by the commissioners, and I went back to the meeting where the commissioners voted on this, and Stephanie Mellinger presented for less than 5 minutes. She introduced her whole office staff. It was, we're getting all this money. This is great. And the commissioners did not open up for public comment.
Uh-oh.
And they didn't have any discussion amongst themselves, and they voted unanimously to opt in.
I have not watched that, but I have heard that. I had heard several people saying that. And so you were confirming that. And so to your knowledge, there was no public hearing specifically when they said it was. So that's
right. And I went back and confirmed that before the meeting on Tuesday, because I want to make sure that I wasn't misspeaking.
Yeah.
And let me clarify to everybody, and I apologize. And Bethany Keller and I are no way associated. When I make this comment, I make this comment completely on my own.
Yeah.
But Stephanie Mellinger's public meetings is her and her staff.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's her whole entourage you're going to see here. And you'll hear all this cheering and clapping when she's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It's not the public. It's
yeah,
the
that's
staff.
the public. The one that
Yeah.
she can control.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very important, because there are times that you hear clapping and cheering, and I just want to make sure that people are aware it's the 12 people that she has stacked in the audience.
We're not to open up for public comment. I'm sure once we have a motion to approve, then we can have a discussion on that topic. So if there's no more discussion on whether
I've received numerous emails and comments from the public. Can we limit the discussion for, say,
I would say any public comment would come under the same rules as the policy we passed previously, which would be the 3-minute. And, we would need to have, we would need to avoid repetition, and we would need to keep it moving so that we can get through our business in a reasonable amount of time tonight. So. All right. If there's no further discussion on this issue, the motion on the table is to open up public comment on this specific Health First Fund. Okay, roll call vote.
Councilwoman Norris? Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Steele?
no?
Steele voted no.
Councilwoman Keller?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Likens? Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Vaughn?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Emery?
Yes.
President Gale?
Yes. Okay.
Wow,
What
okay.
I would ask, we should have a sign-in sheet in the back
There
there.
was not a sign sheet.
So then you'll hear this.
Would you mind bringing that up to the podium?
The sign-in sheet's stupid. Specifically, if they're not going to keep track, what's the point of this? If they're not keeping track of minutes and whatnot, why do they need this? That's ludicrous.
One thing I know that a few of you have mentioned that you've received public comment. I've got quite a few emails and texts regarding this. I spoke to some folks from the state. Ms. Mellinger has given us a lot of information, and I got to say, when I started out with this, I was feeling pretty negative about it. I feel like there was some misinformation that I had, or misconceptions that I had about what was going forward. Spent a lot of time talking to a lot of folks and communicating with Stephanie via emails, reading this stuff, and so it was kind of eye-opening to me. So I will just ask everyone to be respectful and be open-minded about what's being presented, because I'm the first one. If there was a gotcha moment in there or strings attached, I can tell you I was definitely not in favor of this when I started, but as this learning process has continued, it's definitely changed my outlook.
Okay. If you're a member of the public that would like to speak on this topic, I'll ask you to come up to the podium, state your name and where you live, and if you could just sign the...
State your name and where you live.
And just real quick, I'd like to know how many of these people on the council spoke to the health officer.
Right.
Because I can tell you the answer.
Uh-oh,
the only person running that health department is a health administrator without a license.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So that's good to know. So because he said state your name and state your information, of course I got up to be an ass.
My name is Kristopher Bilbrey, and I just want to caution you guys and the public, just to be very clear, that when citizens come up to speak, they do not, for any reason, have to give an address to be heard.
Amen.
So just be very cautious. You guys have said that beforehand. I wasn't going to speak, but I just want to be very clear. The Constitution, the Indiana Constitution, state law has been very clear. Speakers do not have to give address to be heard or to address you guys. They don't have to give their name. They can do so if they so choose, but you cannot request that. So,
okay, first of all, that's not on the topic.
It is, because you asked for people to give their address before.
Right now we're discussing the Health First Fund. So
Okay.
if you have comments to the Health First Fund.
Well, my comments are over. Thank you very much.
Nah, boo boo. I got it in. It's like I don't know what this has nothing to do with this. Okay, I still said it, and people still gave their address. People are, it takes a while for people to wake up.
And I think we had a very
all right. So moving on from here, the next thing I want her just briefly here is
Oh, actually, we do have Ms.
Oh,
Spooner.
excuse me,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
We'll-
The line was given.
I want to move on to Bethany's comments.
Department of Health jobs.
2258.
Is there a motion on the?
Okay,
We
here
have a
we go.
motion to approve by Councilwoman Likens. Is there a second?
Oh, go back a little further,
Second
please.
by Councilman Emery. Now would be time for the.
It's not as simple, I promise you, it is not as simple with Governor Holcomb and his health commission and agenda. Working the renewable energy side of this, I am not a fan. And there's just a lot to this behind the scenes, and I'd appreciate if you could look into Senate Bill 4 and some of the videos that were played during what's behind this. You're my timer. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Stephanie, would you mind coming back up in case members of the council have questions? Is it for discussion on this item? Well, let's have a motion first and a second, then we have something to have discussion on.
Okay, I make a motion that we.
Stephanie answer the.
No. Procedurally now, under Robert's rules, if we don't have a motion, we really have nothing to discuss. We can't vote without a motion. We don't have discussion without a motion. Prior to a motion, it would be questions, gathering information to help somebody get a motion together.
I make a motion that we table this and hold an advertised public hearing.
Yep.
Yes.
We have a motion to
Yes.
table and to hold an advertised public hearing.
Yep.
Is there a second?
It's too bad.
Come on.
No.
Hearing no second, the motion dies for lack of a second.
So she made the motion and it died for lack of a second, which is frustrating. Is that what you wanted, or was there?
Yeah, that's what I wanted people to see.
Okay, that she did make.
I didn't actually ask them to vote against it. I was making a motion to table it until a future meeting and for us to have an advertised public hearing so we could hear from more constituents.
And here's the thing, if these people are really smart people, the money's already in the bank. We're going to be making interest. What's the hurry to spend it? I mean, that's just the business mind to me. But on that same token, how much money were you asking to do further investigation on, Bethany? How much money?
It's almost $1.6 million.
Oh, and we should be looking at that a little bit closer? And these are Republicans.
Yeah, they're Republicans. They're Republicans. That is what's insane.
They're on the rowboat, man.
Yeah, right. They must be some of the same Republicans as Rose Selvey. I've never seen more Republicans than just this last week. The 8th, you've got Rose Selvey freaking out and saying, "It's just money. Let's spend it. $8 million. What's that matter? We can spend it. Spend it. We got people here wanting to be fiscally responsible. Spend it and get over it." And then here now tonight, we've got this going on. It's absolute madness.
Is there a motion on the Health First Fund?
I make a motion to accept.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilwoman Likens. Is there a second?
See, the Likens know how to spend money.
Councilman Emery.
Yeah.
They're not shy about that.
Council to have any discussion
Right.
on this motion.
All right. I have some concerns, and I'm uncomfortable with voting on this tonight. We cannot forget the personal liberties that were violated during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
Shutdowns, face mask mandates, vaccine mandates, and contact tracing, all in the name of public health. The state's lockdown policies destroyed small businesses, and our legislator responded to these forms of government overreach by changing laws and allowing for health department actions of closure to be challenged before local executives. Governor Holcomb struck back against these important constitutional protections with his Public Health Commission by executive order in 2021 to consolidate power from locals back to the state. Holcomb appointed Dr. Christina Box, Dr. Judy Monroe, and former Senator Luke Henley to lead the Public Health Commission. Dr. Judy Monroe is the president and CEO of the CDC Foundation. Over the course of 9 months, Holcomb's Public Health Commission met and came up with final recommendations to ensure consistent, sustainable, and equitable public health services to all Hoosiers via core public health services, increased public health spending, and a plan for regionalization. Holcomb's Public Health Commission received a $50.6 million grant from the CDC to focus mostly on data and evidence collection and increasing the public workforce to centralize public health. When you follow the money, you will see that orders will come from the CDC to the state and then to the local health departments. They want full control over our local health departments to better mobilize during the next pandemic. I have watched clips of Holcomb's Public Health Commission's June 2022 meeting where they discuss coercive strategy to make sure that all counties opt in, suggest an expansion of county requirements, and discuss a re-education campaign for counties choosing to opt out and remain autonomous. Instead of Madison County remaining autonomous, our county commissioners voted to opt in June 2023. Our commissioners made this decision without consulting with the county council on funding, and more importantly, without holding a public hearing. In contrast, I spoke with Commissioner Spalding from Hancock County. The Hancock County commissioners met with the Hancock County Council to get joint approval after having a public hearing on the Health First funding. I would like to remind all of you that the fiscal powers of counties are placed in the county council, which serves as a check on the board of commissioners. It is our duty to make sure that accepting the state funding is in the best interest of taxpayers. Many Madison County taxpayers, have contacted me that they are against Madison County receiving this funding. We owe it to them to do our due diligence in educating ourselves and to hear their concerns through a public hearing where the metrics and requirements are disclosed. I have read Senate Bill 4, and I understand that it states that there will be no transfer of authority. However, the funding is tied to compliance with metrics and administrative rules from the Indiana State Department of Health. Administrative rules are subject to change. Further, the Indiana House Public Health Chair, Brad Barrett, has stated in public committee meetings that they'll revisit the core public health metrics in state statute. Senate Bill 4 also states that before December 31st, 2024, the State Department shall, in coordination with local health departments in a county described in subsection A, identify the county level metrics for measuring the delivery of core public health services. Currently, the county level metrics have not been identified. We should not be appropriating this funding in which the metrics are not identified and in which the metrics will change.
Yes.
Will the metrics, what are the required metrics going to be? Are they going to include incorporation of CDC or World Health Organization standards? Do the metrics align with our county's greatest needs? What quantitative assessment will be used to show a return on investment? And how will entities that are given grants be held accountable for meeting these metrics? Stephanie did state in an email that the state encouraged her to spend all the funding this year to demonstrate need.
Yep.
This is not fiscally responsible, let alone fiscally conservative.
Yep.
We must be good fiscal stewards of all money.
Uh-oh.
The more money that the state determines that we need, the more money this county council will have to find for the county's percentage match. Does the way we are appropriating this funding meet our county's current needs? Will the health of the public increase due to this funding, or are we just expanding our public health workforce? A direct goal of the CDC's grant to Holcomb's Public Health Commission is already playing out in Madison County. How are we going to see the CDC's goals show up in the county over the next few years? Is this socialized medicine, and is this Medicaid for all?
Yes.
What power are we giving them during the next pandemic? More shutdowns, more vaccine mandates, more mask mandates, more contact tracing, or will even more personal liberties be taken away when local power is gone? We owe it to the people to hold an advertised public hearing on the Health First funding. We also must be sure that we have done our due diligence researching this matter. Moving forward without all the information would be irresponsible, reckless, and not in the best interest of taxpayers. And that is why I respectfully did move to table the appropriation of the Health First funding.
Okay, is there any
That's very important.
comment on the motion? Yes.
Mr. Clausen, I asked you a couple of
And it was like no one on the council even cared. They were just like, all right, shut up. I mean, they spent there was no thought about what she said. Like, you can really tell a lot about that, about how they interacted with what you said. It was just like over their heads, through their ears, out in one ear and out the other. I'm very put off by how they acted through that. That was really crazy.
I don't know if I needed to dumb it down or if they just toned my voice out completely at this point.
They'd already made their minds up. They already knew what they were going to vote.
And you're exactly right. I have been told multiple times since I've been on the council that I need to do my homework ahead of the meeting because I should know how I'm going to vote before I come to the meeting. And I've also been told by a different council member that the meeting should always last under an hour.
That's, see,
And
do they tell you why?
Then they'd be paying $1,400 an hour. The taxpayers would be paying these people $1,400 an hour if that's what they did.
Do you know why? Do they tell you why it should last under an hour?
No.
Because it's always, you know, listen, a 7-hour long meeting, that's not fun for anybody. I am the biggest political junkie of all time. You get me in a good council meeting or commissioners meeting or down at the State House, and it's going to be like a whole day of activity and fun. I'm all there for it. You know, I'm in a 3-hour long meeting. I'm at home. Give me a blanket and I'm ready to rock and roll. I am comfortable there. I don't like 7-hour long meetings. They're tedious. You don't know what's going on at that point. It's just kind of like mind numbing. But that's not going to happen frequently. That does not happen all of the time. That's very, very few and far between.
And it shouldn't have happened if they had followed all the procedures correctly. But where that meeting started, it was necessary that evening to go that long to be able to pass a budget.
Absolutely. But my point is, your elected officials who happen to sit on a council that normally meets once a month, right? You only meet once a month?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, sometimes every once in a while, there might be a special meeting or an executive meeting of some kind. But, you know, it sounds like you guys don't meet in December. Maybe you don't meet in July too. You know, so
Christmas in July, right?
Yeah, right. There's few and far between, you know, time that you guys are actually in the public sphere doing actual public work on the record. If it takes 2 hours sometimes, by God, that's just what it takes. You should be there until the work is done. And if somebody has a problem with that because they need to get home to watch Jeopardy or watch Law and Order, then they need to give up their seat or get DVR or something, because that I get absolutely pissed off at that. And that is so maddening that happens. I cannot stand that. So, you know, I'm glad that you're not somebody that thinks that way. And you know, yeah, I don't know. It's insane. From here, then we're getting ready. So what's interesting is you guys have watched on here where counselors have yelled at citizens, which I don't really particularly like. You guys just watched Rose Selvey in the Muncie City Council meeting go completely off the rails, insane, and they said nothing to her. But watch what happens when right now it's the public has been speaking. Now we're getting ready to vote, and it's going to go into the council's turn to speak. And we're going to watch Council President Ben Gale gavel down Counselor Keller here, and we'll ask her opinion on that here in a second. Here we go.
This morning,
I'm not a lawyer, so
no way.
I just try to read common sense in the statute to make people feel better. It's an understanding in the statute that the Health Commission can't just come in and say, Stephanie Mellinger, you're going to. I mean, it was amended. I told them when it first started out. So when they amended it, they have to go through the state legislature. Am I correct?
Let's go through the state legislature to change the statute.
So the Health Commission just can't come in and say, you're changing, you're going to do this.
There's administrative rules that can change at the state level, not through the legislature. You have the ability to opt out of the program, and concerns about the governor making mass mandates, that was all done through executive order. That's completely separate from this. You can accept this money or you can deny this money, and there can still be executive orders that make you have lockdowns. So this money is completely separate from the overreach of the executive committee that may have.
But it helps them.
Right. And if they made a change, if they came in and made a rule change down there and the health commission got together and said, Stephanie, you're gonna change it. And they come in and when do we get to vote? I think Councilman Emery was, if there's something that came in, when can we take up that issue and say, okay, now we're opting out because now you change?
So I think the council has brought up some valid issues that are within your purview as fiscal body and legislative body. But it's also important to remember that we're talking about the administration of the health department here and the executive function that falls under the commissioners.
I just want everybody to know that he has a mic. These people don't speak into it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's so frustrating is we're looking at the microphone right here. He could have been down. They could work a little bit better to, be.
As far as directing departments.
And I
Christopher, you're asking for transparency.
Yeah, right.
They don't do proper minutes.
Yeah.
Why would they want anything actually on a recorded record?
Right.
Yeah. People want me to point out her stance.
Yeah.
When do we
To
get to
everybody. They're wanting, I mean, I'm getting hit left and right here that, why isn't anybody talking about her stance and how they want you to back it up to the 2:20 where she really has some body language.
To where?
2:20 or 2:20. And then you'll see her when Mrs. Spooner's talking, she's closed off. Body language tells you a lot. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So people are saying, at the 2:20 mark, at the 2:22 and the 2:24 mark,
here's Spooner.
The public is speaking. Now she's supposed to be a health servant. And so at 2:22, she's up against the wall behind when Spooner, and she's just not interested in what anybody has to say. I mean,
oh yeah.
We will have to contribute some. I don't know.
At her.
We don't know. The Indiana Department of Health hasn't stated that. So how does this compare to our current budget? And will we have to raise taxes? Is there
county prepared to be shaking her head, rolling her eyes,
and then she'll start to watch her watch.
And then down the road, when the state says, "Hey, we have a new pandemic,"
she's texting somebody back there.
Yeah,
Madison County what to do.
Because I'm sure they're making faces and jokes about the people who are speaking.
Jobs.
Sure.
Are we prepared to handle that? So. There was some more on here that I had read, and I'm trying to catch up.
At 2:22,
what I'm asking
you, 2:24 are the other two body languages,
and dug into the things that I.
And see, I do listen to the public as you guys are texting me.
Questions.
Yeah.
Gathering information to help somebody get a motion together.
I make a motion that we table this and hold an advertised.
Look at her here.
Yep.
Yes.
Look at her. Yep. Rolled her eyes, with her eyes shut.
And to hold an advertised public
sucking her mouth in tight. She's angry.
Is there a second?
It's too bad.
Come on. No. Hearing no second.
That's...
The motion dies for lack of a second. Is there a motion on the?
In a House Public Health Chair, Brad Barrett, has stated in public committee meetings that they'll revisit.
She's not even listening.
Oh yeah, no.
Senate Bill 4 also states that before December 31st, 2024.
Yeah, I mean, she's sitting in there staring at her, just going, "Shut up, shut up."
There is no active listening. That is not what you want in a health department.
Yeah, no. Look at all these other people.
Level metrics have not been identified. We should not be appropriating this funding in which the metrics are not identified and in which the metrics will change.
Yes.
Will the metrics, what are the required metrics going to be? Are they going to include incorporation of CDC?
He's like, when's she going to be done?
Standards?
I don't know what Vaughn's doing. He's doing the same thing he always does. He's thinking about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And how will entities that are given grants be held accountable for meeting these metrics? Stephanie did state in an email.
This is nuts because I honestly I'll watch that normally, but I was listening to her and so I was just tuned into that. But it is funny to watch them.
Yep.
Amen. We must be good fiscal stewards of all money.
Good stewards.
The more money that the state determines that we need,
yeah,
the more money this county council will have to find for the county's percentage match. Does the way we are appropriating this funding meet our county's current needs? Will the health of the public increase due to this funding, or are we just expanding our public health workforce? A direct rule of the CDC's grant to Holcomb's Public Health Commission is already playing out in Madison County.
And I will tell
How are we
you,
going to see the
while
CDC's
Bethany are
goals
making
show up
all
in the
these
county over
solid
the next
points,
few years?
she's
Yeah.
wanting to
Is this
put this
socialized
money up in
medicine, and
Elwood.
is this Medicaid for all?
She's what?
What
Want to
power
put
are we
this up
giving
in
them during the
Elwood.
next pandemic?
Open
Yeah.
a site in
Shutdowns,
Elwood.
more vaccine mandates?
There's
Yeah.
no
mask
drug
mandates?
addiction counselors. There's no social workers. There's no WIC people. There's no psych NPs. And that's where our biggest drug epidemic is, besides Anderson. It's up there in Elwood.
Yeah.
He's not even got a plan for up there. Oh, and how do I know? Because I was the chief deputy coroner. I went to pick up these bodies. I'm telling you what's going on in the county.
Now we listen to her get really mad. Here she gets mad.
Set forth by
They're
us.
set forth, and they're in the statute
But they,
right now.
no, the metrics have, the county level metrics have not been decided yet.
Yes, because this is a capacity building year. We have already started laying the foundation for this work because we have trust and maintenance accounts. Currently, we had trust and maintenance accounts. This money replaces that. So we already started that work with the money that we already had. So this money is just taking what we're already doing and expanding it, making it better. Respectfully, I get your concerns, I do. But you know what? I've dedicated my entire life to public health and I want people to be healthy. Look, our county is in such poor shape. And this $1.5 million is a really big deal. And it is just the first step to making our county healthier.
And I
It's
hope
not
it
up to the
works, but
government
how are you
to
gonna
make
measure it? What metrics are you gonna identify?
We have statistics. If you look at the Health
Watch
First
this.
website, you look at the
I've
county
done
and it's got
It's not
County
up to the
level
government.
metrics have not been identified.
This is nuts. I can't believe he did that. And now listen to what he says here.
Councilwoman Keller, please don't interrupt. Let her finish her statement, and then you'll have time to make yours.
I thought we were in.
But she's a councilman.
We invited the health department
She's a
to
councilman.
have discussion with us.
She's the councilwoman.
The Health First website has the state of Indiana. It has a drop-down menu of several metrics that are already there. It's relatively.
So when that happened, has that happened before?
Not exactly like that. It hasn't. But it was quite frustrating to me because we were in council discussion and I asked her, basically, in my opinion, trying to cover up the fact that there are no county level metrics yet.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to clarify, what I was asking. So I ask a question and then she's just like going off on this tangent. So
Well, she's been doing this her whole life. She should know what metrics we're going to look at.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now if I'm going to measure things in my office. As a matter of fact, when the COVID thing, I started measuring all kinds of things. It just rolled off the tip of my head.
Well, and to be fair, this would have to be a joint effort between the Indiana State Department of Health and our local health department to come up with the county level metrics, but it hasn't been done yet. And so I had a problem with the county accepting the money without knowing what metrics were going to be measured by.
Absolutely.
Have to know how to spend the money properly.
And this is the story. When you do not have a plan, you are planning to fail. That is the bottom line. And this is going to become disastrous. And Bethany's going to be the only one who's going to be able to stand up in a year or 2 or 3 and say, I told you guys not to do this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay, besides me, I'll be standing there by her saying the same thing. Although I'll give them credit to Bethany because she's the one that really looked at me and said, now, are you sure about this, Katherine? So really it was Bethany.
Well, that's, that's good.
Data. So you can pull that information right now.
She does.
That data typically
They go
on a
through
website
this,
called,
then here, this is interesting.
These funds that you've had around, hopefully to educate a little bit more. I asked
It's the same work we're already doing, yes.
I asked Stephanie the tough question this morning. Are you out doing this? Are you out promoting abortions? Are you out? Didn't I? I asked. We had a very
He asked some tough questions.
And
how much medical knowledge does he have?
So I read some more that she sent me. And so,
He stayed in a Holiday Inn Express once.
My major caution was, and I believe Councilman, I think he is, maybe we disagree sometimes, but I think Councilman Embry, I think that if some state comes in here and mandate and said, you're doing COVID vaccine, and I think we're going to reconvene pretty quick and say, defunding that. So
Listen, this is so frustrating because we're hearing these government people say, well, let's go ahead and do it now. And then if something bad happens down the road, we're going to get together real quick and we're going to stop it. Because we all know that's how that works. Right? I mean, like, are we for real? What?
How much money did that cost us?
Yeah. Well, yeah, right.
You know, and let me ask you, Chris, in all your experiences, have you ever seen a councilwoman who's making clear points get gavelled and then the floor's given to the guest?
I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I've seen folks making clear points from the council before that they've just, shut up in other ways, or just not listened to. I mean, that's just kind of par for the course. But that was interesting. I mean, that was interesting. And I'm so glad, Bethany, that you said, I thought that this was council discussion. And, then he's like, well, we invited her here for yada, yada, yada. Yeah, but you guys were in your discussion period. You had sparked the conversation. You'd asked the question, she answered. You said something again, she answered. It was kind of a volley back and forth, and I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think you were being rude or interrupting her in any way. I think you guys were just having a discussion, and sometimes when that happens, two people might start talking at the same time. That's not being rude. It's just what goes on. You were having a little bit of disagreement.
Maybe if she would have had a public meeting, there wouldn't be so many comments. Oh, that's right. Maybe all these people, did not attend that public meeting. Therefore, they didn't have questions, but Bethany was clearly versed on it.
Yes. Yeah.
We've voted in 7 people, but the people only really have in this one, just in this meeting, only have one spokesperson in this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's been credit where other times others have spoken, but in this one, it was only Bethany.
Yeah. So what? How did Councilor Keller? How did this vote end?
We did a roll call vote, and it went 6-1.
So it passed. Madison County has entered into this.
Correct.
So there are 92 counties in the state of Indiana. There are currently 6 counties that have opted out of this, only 6.
That's correct.
And just FYI for everyone that wants to know, give me 1 second. I can tell you who those 6 are. Give me just 1 second here, and I can tell you, unless either one of you guys remember off the top of your head.
I can't remember.
I've got them right here.
And they range from all over where they land in the health community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the outcome health. So Crawford is out. Crawford ranks number 92. So they are in the last. Fountain, and here's the thing. With Crawford being in the very last position out of 92 counties and they're opting out,
yeah.
What's that tell you?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's not the top ones that are opting out that have money. Hamilton County is number 1 as far as outcomes. They're number 1 and they took the money. Fountain is number 61. Harrison is number 42. Johnson, which is on the other side of Greenwood, they're number 6. They opted out. Wells, number 30, and Whitley's number 15. So those.
Oh, she crashed. But those are the. Oh, go ahead. You said those, and then you cut out. Oh, she did it again. So those it's those 6 that's very interesting. And again, it's Crawford, Fountain, Harrison, Johnson, Wells, and Whitley.
Yeah,
and
so they range from anywhere from number 6 as the most healthiest to 92, the worst healthiest. Those are the 6 that have opted out.
That's absolutely crazy. And so, I applaud Councilor Keller for being, standing on her morals. It's tough sometimes to be the odd man out. You guys, we watch Councilor Webb do it all the time here and from Delaware County. It happens in other areas that we watch, and it's rough. I have one more thing here that I want to watch, and I know we've kept you guys on, and I'm so sorry, and I'm so thankful that you stuck with us. I want to watch this last thing, and then I'm going to ask you if you have any last thoughts, and then we'll let you guys go. I'm so thankful that you guys have stuck on here, and I appreciate the comments and everything that you guys both do. Just here at the last of the meeting, very interesting that we get here. This is the very last. They're getting ready to get into public concerns. I had literally just dipped out just moments before this, and I was like, all right, I got to get home and try to go live. We didn't end up going live Tuesday night, but this is what happens right before the end of the meeting and right around the time that I left.
Yes.
Chris gets spanked.
Okay, we got through all the salary ordinances. Before we open up for public comment, I do want to address a comment that was made earlier. Under public comments, it is actually quite a common practice to ask people where they live. And we've actually had our legal counsel review that and tell us that's okay. I just want to make sure we, as a council, understand that that's not any kind of a legal issue. The benefit, in case anyone is asking, or in case anyone's wondering why, is it's nice if we're voting on something to know if someone's a member of our community and what part of the county they are from. So since that is the policy that was passed by the county council, I will say, as we open this up for public comment, I would ask you to come up, state your name and where you live, and we'll keep the comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that had signed up?
All right. So he said that little piece, kind of spanking me down. Well, I want to let everybody know, along with calling Luke Brick the next day and asking about the minutes portion of the meeting, I verified what I know because I wanted to just double check, because I knew that I would be talking to President Gale here soon. And so I checked in with Luke, and again, for the record, what he said there is wrong-ish. It's not right-ish. It is right, and it's not. He didn't say we're going to demand it. You've got to. He said it's okay for us to ask. Yeah, it's okay for them to ask. It's okay for someone to want to give their address. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to get up and give your address for everybody watching, keep in mind these meetings are then put sometimes on YouTube and can be watched all over the world or whatever. So if you want to stand up in a meeting and give your address, you can do whatever you want. But by Indiana law, by the United States Constitution, by the Constitution of the United States of America, by Indiana's Constitution, by the laws that govern the Indiana public access, open door meetings and such, they can ask you if you want to give your name and address. You do not have to give your name and address to speak, and they cannot stop you. If you go up to speak at a podium in a meeting, whether you're at the State House, or you're in Muncie City Council, or Anderson, or Newcastle, or Henry County Council, or County Commissioners, or Madison County Councilor Commissioners, or Delaware County, or anywhere else in the state of Indiana, you can give your name and you can give your address if you so choose. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to give your address, and they cannot stop you. There is one meeting in the state of Indiana that the elected officials in the meeting can ask for your address. And if you want to speak, you do in fact have to give your address. And that is a township advisory board. And the reason being is because township trustees and the like, they give money out and sometimes can give money out to residents, cash money. And in order to do that, you have to be a resident of the township. So, for example, it would not be appropriate for me, who's a resident of Hamilton Township here in Delaware County, for me to go to Richland Township over in Madison County and say, oh, hey, could you pay my bills? and I live in Muncie, that would be no go. So those are the meetings in which they can ask your for your name and your address. If you go to a school board meeting, if you go to the state senate, if you go to the floor of the state house, if you go to this meeting here, they cannot demand that you give. You're more than welcome to give the town. That's something you can do, Janet. That's no problem. You can say, I'm Janet from Yorktown. I'm Janet from Chesterfield. I'm Chris from Albany. I'm Chris from Muncie. Some people, if you feel so inclined, you could say, I live on 200 East. I live on Main Street, if you want to do that.
I'm going to give a shout out to Nicole, okay? Because here's the deal. If they're homeless, do they not get to speak?
Listen.
I'm just saying.
They absolutely do. Yeah, they absolutely get to speak.
And I want everybody to know that Stephanie Mellinger made it a point to say, well, 86 other counties or 85 other counties are doing it, so we should do this health first. It's a great idea. Okay, well, if you're learning from other counties, I don't know why people from other places can't come in and speak.
Well, that's exactly right. And you know, by the United States Constitution, we have a First Amendment right in this country. And that First Amendment right does not change because you cross the line into Madison County, and you're very easily and allowed, in my belief, these rules and these rights were given to us by God, the Creator, and Ben Gale does not trump that. So you are more than welcome to give that. And I'm just going to caution Mr. Gale. I will be back to these meetings, and we'll test this out. We'll see which one's right. But if forced to give an address, I'm going to give his address. I know his address, and so if forced, I'm just going to give Ben's address, and we'll move forward from there, because nobody else will know if that's my address or not. But that's what I'm going to do. So there's that. So we'll test his theory and see what the deal is. I'm up for some political games. So that's just, I want to put that out on the record. So I want to thank you guys. Is there anything else that we haven't got to, or anything? I'm so sorry that we've kept you so late. I told you we wouldn't be on this late, but you stuck with us. So first of all, thank you. But is there anything else that you would like to cover or convey to the listeners that are from your district or from your county or anyone else that's listening?
I'll say something.
Oh, yes. Okay. Catherine always has something.
I know people have asked, what did Bethany do to beat out Jerry Alexander? It's given them hope. It's given them faith that there truly is help coming. And so, you know, I do, and Bethany and I know back when she was running, we've had our differences, but we've always been respectful in public. We've always been respectful. We've never, and, you agree to disagree, and you move forward, and you find that fight that serves the people, no matter what happens. And so she's done an amazing job. She's on a journey. She does show people what it's like, that sometimes it gets lonely to stand alone.
It does.
And I know that she has seen me from it, and I've had to stand alone. But help's coming, Bethany. I commend you for what you've done. You've done an incredible job. What you did 2 nights ago was not easy, but keep up the faith. You're a great role model for your kids and for young women and men everywhere. That transparency can happen, and we're going to be okay even when the truth is exposed.
Yeah.
So I thank you, but that's about all I have to say. That's my soapbox for tonight. I thank you for having us on, Chris, and sharing
No problem.
We know you're in Delaware County. Oh, look at that. Another county willing to help a county. Huh.
No way.
So I appreciate you, but I do appreciate you very much, Bethany. And I know how hard you are working as a mom and staying up this late, but thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for all the good compliments. It's definitely hard when you are in that minority group on the council. And I don't need people that will always agree with me on things.
Yes.
I want people that are going to do their own research. I didn't agree with Jody Norick's vote on Tuesday night, but I highly respect her. I know she put in a lot of research on it. I know she prayed hard about it just like I did. And we came up with a different conclusion, but I still have a lot of respect for her because of that. And so Sorry about my internet.
No,
It's
you're
been doing it
fine.
all night.
We blame it on State Representative J.D. Prescott and all of his cohorts, but go ahead.
So, Mikkel, Councilman Vaughn is up for re-election. I'd love to see him get re-elected, and I'm really excited about first-time candidate Kristi Grabowski. I really think that she's someone that I could work with, and I'm going to go as far as to say that I think that she could be a better councilwoman than I am.
Wow.
I think that she is a wonderful person, and I respect her, and I look up to her in several different aspects of life. So,
if
really
you
excited about her.
If you communicate with her, I'm going to do something different this time. Normally, I've opened it up and I've done these things in primary and in November where I've went out and I've tried to interview all of the candidates. I'm not doing that this time. I'm only going to give platform to the candidates that I respect and the candidates that I go after, or candidates that I have issue with and whatever. So I'm going to give her, if she wants to come on at some point during the campaign, I would love to have her on and do kind of a candidate interview, pick her brain and give her some time and whatnot. Those generally last 30 minutes, but I told you this would last an hour, and look where we are. So, but yeah, I would love to have her on. And so if she wants to do that, that would be great. I have looked at some of her stuff, and I was going to ask you tonight, do you know if anyone else has filed over there, has signed up, or where are you know?
I know that Vaughn and Grabowski have filed, but I've not heard of anyone else filing yet.
For council.
For council. For council.
And
I generally call the clerk's office. I've checked in with Delaware counties. I've checked in with Henry counties. I have not called Madison County and Randolph counties. I will generally try, once I get in a pattern, I generally call these people on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I will get in a pattern with it and start doing that. But as of now, it's been pretty slow start, and it generally is like this. We've got another month. The filing period doesn't close until noon on Friday, February 9th, folks.
And if you're not registered to vote, you need to get registered to vote now. You can't do it when the polls are open, just so everybody knows. As far as Madison County, I'm keeping a spreadsheet, so I'll just forward that to you. Cindy's helping me take care of that. Rick Gardner has filed to be commissioner in District 2. He's running against Deborah Warwick. So those two, and that'll be taking up Lycan's seat. Lisa Rinker is running up in District 3, right? Is that right, Bethany?
I'm not really familiar with the commissioner districts. I know it's the position that John Richwine currently holds.
I think it's either District 1 or 3, but I think it's District. So Lisa Rinker is going to be running against John Richwine. He says he's not running again. I find this hard to believe. But Lisa is who I would vote for, hands down. Hands down, I would vote for Lisa. I'm just telling everybody that. That is who I probably will be voting for. And I say that because I can't imagine that's going to be a good race. And then the only today, like Linda Smith's husband put in for precinct committeeman. For him, that was the only one that got registered today. And then there's really all the other ones are just precinct committeemen, state Gellett. Oh, and Culp, who is the chief deputy for Gardner, is running for auditor. So those, and Shepard, I think it's Shepard's son. There's a Carl Shepard or something. He is the one he's put in for surveyor.
Okay.
And nobody seems to know who that person is. But other than that, we haven't seen a lot of movement over here. And so that's about what it is. And I've already sent you the spreadsheet that's up to date as of this afternoon at 4.
Okay.
So you have that on your email.
Okay.
I know I'm watching this race. I'm invested. I'm going to get you help, Bethany.
Thank you.
Hey, that's what we need to do. Everybody doing their part. Well, thank you, ladies, very much. I appreciate both of you for coming on and talking with us. And obviously, Katherine, you're here anytime. Bethany, you're welcome here anytime. If there's ever anything that you want to get out to the people, if you want to get news out or information out, if you want to come on and talk about something, if there's ever a big vote or something that's going on, you're free to come on anytime. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. And ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for us. I do want to put this up. This is very sad. We got this news today. J.D. Prescott, unfortunately, for some unknown reason, thinks people like him. He did go down and file for re-election. Serving Indiana's House District 33 is an incredible honor. I don't know what he's been doing, but he thinks he's been serving it. So that's that. He filed. I know that a Democrat, John Barrett, has filed to run against him. We are still pushing on some Republicans. We've got Republicans out there that have ran against him in the past. I don't know if it's going to be the same people, different people, what's going to happen, but we need choices there. And that's the only other thing I have there. So we will not be here tomorrow night. We will be back Sunday night.
And when are we going to be talking about Anderson and the complete chaos going on?
Yeah, we were supposed to get there, but this went too long. I'll hit on that on Sunday. Anderson, I was going to talk about this tonight when we were done with the girls, but we went too long.
But this council meeting was so much fun.
Yeah, this was so much fun. We will get to the Anderson stuff. I'll do that on Sunday, and then Monday we have a big guest show with John Schrock. John Schrock, who's been dealing with the how to fight back against the Indiana government being out of control, state government, and yada, yada, yada. So we've got a couple big shows coming up next week. Donald Rainwater will be on February 1st. That's a big one, too. So remember that. Write that down on your calendars. February 1st, Donald Rainwater. We will see you back for episode 117 on Sunday. Have a good night off tomorrow, and we will talk to you all then. God bless. Take care. Buy any of the mugs or shirts or hoodies or any of the other crap that we've got on there. You can get that at the merch shop. It's running at the bottom of the screen, and I'm tired of talking. Good night. Bye. You're right there real quick, Bethany. We'll be back in just 1 second.